Hi, I'm Melissa, your free range psychic. Today is April 12th, 2020. Happy Easter Sunday to those celebrating Easter. Happy Passover to those celebrating Passover. Easter eggs are my favorite. So today I am doing part 2 of Now for something completely different. And I am going to read on whether Matt Gaetz was Albert Speer, a member of the German Reichstag of Nazi Germany. This was a surprising reading because when I asked my guides who Gaetz had been, and they indicated he was Albert Speer, who I've never heard of before. So it's interesting researching him. Albert Speer actually only died in 1981, and then Gaetz was born in 1982. And that's a very quick reincarnation. But my guides say that there was a reason for that, that the way that things are strategized, and that Speer had this opportunity to reincarnate and be in a similar situation that he was in Germany. Albert Speer was born in Mannheim, Germany, 1905, March 19th. He was the second of 3 sons. His father was a famous architect by the name of Albert Friedrich Speer. His mother's name, I'm going to have to look at my notes here, Louise Matilda Wilhelm. And I don't know much about his childhood or his early 20s, but in 1932, his father took the family to Berlin. And I think that it must have been that his father arranged a meeting with a member of the Nazi Party by the name of Karl Henke, and he introduced him to Joseph Goebbels. So Albert Speer was commissioned to help with the construction and design of the 1933 Nuremberg rally, and because Hitler was so impressed with his work, he made him the Nazi Party commissioner for artistic and technical presentation of party rallies and demonstrations. Eventually, he became a member of the German Reichstag, which is like the German parliament, and he became known as Hitler's architect. Another moniker for him was the Devil's Architect, and apparently he became, and according to his own memoirs, became a very close friend to Hitler. He shared a lot of Hitler's beliefs. He's anti-Semitic, believed in Aryan superiority and world domination, but apparently also he did not believe in Hitler's scorched earth policy, obliterating other countries and so forth. So he actually disobeyed some of Hitler's orders. He went against Hitler in that way. But he, for the whole, was a good Nazi. On October 1946, he was convicted of war crimes against humanity. Obviously, the war was over then. He was accused of using his different positions and influence to take part in military and economic planning and preparation of a war of aggression and a war in violation of international treaties. His major crime was using enforced labor or slave labor to help build the Nazi war machine. And apparently this helped by conscripting hundreds of thousands, even maybe millions of people into slave labor. He helped extend the period of the war. And he was found guilty, and he spent 20 years in Spandau prison. He was released in 1966 at the age of 61. And a note here too that his sentence was mitigated because of some of his opposition to Hitler's scorched earth policy. When he got out in 1961, he was able to reunite with his family. They moved to a rustic cottage that his father had built on the outskirts of Heidelberg, and he lived out the rest of his life there. He died of a stroke in 1981. And then in 1982, Matt Gaetz is born. He's born in a ironically named town that, if you relate it to Matt Gaetz, it's called Niceville, near the Gulf of Mexico and Florida. This is an interesting little trio fact here, that his father also owned a house in Hollywood, Florida, called the Truman House, because the Truman Show, that famous movie with Jim Carrey, was filmed in that house. And so Matt Gaetz spent a lot of his childhood in that house. Matt Gaetz, his father was a well-known politician, a very wealthy businessman in the tens of millions of dollars, his net worth. And I guess they know Matt Gaetz in that area as Baby Gaetz. And everybody is of the mind that without his father, Don Gaetz, Matt Gaetz would not have had such an illustrious career as he does, because he was allegedly funded and bought into power by his father's money. Everybody does, I say everybody, but I don't know if that's true, but it is a well-known fact also that he was arrested for driving under the influence in his younger days, but he got off. He refused to take a breathalyzer test, and he lost his license for a period of time, but he got off in the end because he had some good lawyers. And he has 16 speeding tickets. I don't know. There's other scandals I'm sure that people could tell me about, but that's what I could find. He graduated with a doctor in jurisprudence from William and Mary, I believe in 2007. Practiced law. I think it was around that time that he was in those, or he got into trouble for his DUI. But his father backed him in his career. He ended up becoming a representative in the Florida Senate, and then he became the House representative for the 1st District of Florida. And that was in 2016. And so, Matt, don't you just love Matt Gaetz? So his whole thing is to be obnoxious, right? And he is a Trump diehard. He is a member of the Freedom Caucus. He is someone who likes to be outrageous. He's on Fox News all the time, and he doubles down and even takes Trump's most ultra right-wing beliefs even further. So his policies are this: he's anti-gay adoption. He is a member of the NRA, and he is one of the highest rated members there as a politician. He is a A+ member. And I got this quote: National Rifle Association ex-president Marion Hammer. She says Gaetz is one of the most pro-gun members to have ever served in the Florida legislature. Gaetz opposes sanctuary cities. He has said that illegal immigrants are sucking us dry. He defended Trump's statement that Haiti and Africa are shithole countries. And he said that Haiti's covered by sheet metal and garbage, and it's in a disgusting condition. So we have Matt Gaetz, who recently wore the gas mask right into Congress, and he did it to bring home that it was a big hoax and making fun of people's fear of it and the Democrats' fear of it. And then lo and behold, he finds out that he's had contact with somebody who's tested positive, and he has to be in quarantine for 2 weeks. So sometimes I think of the coronavirus as a karma virus, because that happened with Rand Paul too, right? His father wrote some op-ed on the coronavirus and how it was a hoax, and then his son comes down with the virus, and then you have Boris Johnson, who's talking about herd immunity and whatever, and then he comes down with the coronavirus. So Gaetz is a really unlikable person, right? But it's interesting if you look at the parallels between Gaetz and Scheer in this way. So you had Scheer, who had a distaste for Hitler's aggressive war policy to the extremity it went, even though he was almost 100% pro-Hitler. And then you have Gaetz, who in January 2020 surprisingly aligned with Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats to restrict Trump's presidential powers, because he didn't want us to get into a war, another perennial war. On to the reading. I'm using the Ciro Marchetti Gilded Tarot cards when I do my readings. I ask the guides psychically to choose the cards for me, and then I ask them why they chose those cards. I do my best to interpret what they tell me. The first card, subject card, this is the Tower. My guides say that this card represents both Gaetz and Speer being caught up in these disastrous administrations that are trying to bring in or do bring in dictatorship and autocracies, and are attempting to smash the democratic processes of their governments, and but this leads to catastrophe. So this certainly is a card that you can really associate with the Nazis. And also think about it. This is Trump Tower, and both of these men's involvement in these administrations bring destruction to them. Not just the world, but them too. Above is the Knight of Swords. This card came up for Steve Miller also. So this is both Speer and Gaetz in their roles as lapdogs for their leader, as soldiers for their leaders. They're going to go out there and they're going to aggressively defend and spin and lie and bring on the revolution that their leaders are wanting them to accomplish. And they're instrumental in the success of the message of their leaders. They're out there. They're gonna bring in these changes aggressively, without mercy, and they enjoy this role. They feel powerful. They feel liberated. Actually, if you look at that knight there, it's like a feeling of liberation. In the near, or I want to say the near past, but really for Speer, it's not the near past, but in the past. Let's just give this card the past association. So this is Speer being caught up in his crimes and ending up in prison for 20 years because of his involvement with the Nazi regime. And this is then more recently Gaetz being in quarantine, I think. with the COVID exposure to the COVID virus. He didn't have it, but so he gets caught up in his own deeds. He ties himself up, and he's trapped. He's caught here. Underneath is the Four of Pentacles. This is both men, their motivation, which is for power and wealth, and their belief that due to their superiority and just by virtue of entitlement, they deserve it all. And this is really the card of the 1%. I don't think any other card would represent the 1% better. We deserve it all. We deserve everything. You deserve nothing. We're going to take it all. And we want more. And we're going to do whatever it takes to get more. In the near future is the Ten of Swords. So this card certainly was the future, or the end result, the final result for Speer regarding his involvement with the Nazi Party. This made him end up in prison. Although he was fortunate, he was able to have some kind of life for 15 years or something before he actually died. He was able to get out, but this was the blow that ended up with his incarceration. And for Gaetz, my guys are saying there's some kind of scandal coming down the pike. It has to do with money, and this is going to be big time problem for Gaetz coming up. It's pretty bad. It's looking bad for him politically. He might have to resign. Something's coming for him. In the clarifying card, Page of Swords, well, I think this card illustrates really well, Gaetz. Such a little get. I think in England they would call him a wanker. This is Gaetz. He's a rich kid's son, and so was Speer. Full of himself, and very mischievous in a negative way. He's going to do whatever pranks it takes, whatever trolling it takes, to fulfill his role as a soldier for his leader. He's devious and not trustworthy. He's obnoxious, really. So I don't know what Speer was like, but maybe he was like that too, that this is representing both of them. And then I asked for a clarifying card for that. I got the Five of Swords, and so my guys are saying, and this is also both Speer and Gaetz, by their aggression, by their deeds, they're causing major suffering and death for people. And they're not, look at that guy. He doesn't care. He's proud of himself because he has achieved victory for himself and his master and his beliefs. The outcome card. This is the Devil. And my guides say both of these men were going to burn in the fire of their own sins, which were all in service of the devil. And this card portrays Trump so well, doesn't it? The orange devil. But it brings about their demise. So this is the outcome card for Gaetz, and this was the outcome card for Speer. So was Matt Gaetz, or is Matt Gaetz the reincarnation of Albert Speer? What do you think? I have an oracle card for us. I think it's really fitting. My guides chose it. I actually asked them if we could do one from the Messenger Oracle, and then they chose the card. It was a compromise. And no, they were happy to do it. Otherwise, they would have told me, no, we want to choose another deck. But they might have chosen this one anyway, I think. By Ravynne Phelan. Messenger Oracle card is for us. Do not fear the unknown. What a fitting card, because isn't that the time we're in right now? I will read it. I had it marked really well, and then I took the with the card, and then I took the card out. So, okay. Do not fear the unknown. The ugly is not always bad and evil, and the beautiful not always good and just. Failure is not predetermined, nor is it a given that others will laugh at you if you choose to follow your decisions and your dreams, even if they're different from others. It is your fear of the unknown that makes you question and judge. Do not let another's experience be the truth that guides you. Do not allow your fear of the unknown and the unknown outcome to hold you prisoner. Your own experience could be both different and rewarding. Live. So that very last word, live, that really gets me, because do we stop living during this time? No, we live through it. And do our lives mean that because this virus is upon us, we all suffer in misery and we all are in despair? No. There is still joy to be had. There is still there are still things to do, things to tend to, and also the people who are suffering from the virus, the people who are in need, they need help. We need to be there for them. So we need to live through this time, not withdraw from it, not just wait till it passes over. This is a time that's very, very important for us to engage in. And even if we're asked to stay at home, even if we're asked to social distance, there are many, many ways to be involved. And if not externally, internally. And there is always prayer. There is always envisionment for manifestation of positive outcomes, of healing. And how can we transform the situation into a better world? How do we learn from this, and how do we make this better so that this is not an inevitable outcome? We can change this for the future. So, do not fear the unknown. I always remind people at this point that I do readings, past life readings, anything in the present. I am a medium, and I can help past people on if they haven't, find out if they've made their transition. And also, I love to introduce people to their guardian angels. I communicate directly with my spirit guides, so really you can ask me anything and we can see what they have to say. You guys, it's a beautiful day here in Michigan. I really hope that a lot of happy kids have been able to go on their private egg hunts. They might not be able to gather at their churches or wherever they go, but there's the backyard. So wishing everybody love and be well. Till next time.